Okay, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Live from the Sword Coast podcast. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly dungeon muser this evening. Tonight, I just wanted to quickly hop on. I'm just going to make sure we're streaming and do a quick looking for group video. I have decided that I'm going to add a late addition to my slate of, or try to at least add a late addition to my slate of 2019 games. And after a pretty much winding up our first month of gaming, I've decided that I can actually add one more game to the slate on my Saturday mornings when I am not running Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. So what I'm interested in running is something for a game I really don't play on the channel very much. Is Pathfinder, and a game that I really don't have an awful lot of experience with, to be honest, either. I've run it a handful of times. I've played it a fair amount, well, a bit, but it's not one of my go-to games. And certainly for the games that I've been running on the channel the last 6 months or so, it's a lot more tailed and a lot more, it's a lot crunchier than what a lot of the OSR games that I've been running on the channel or talking about on the podcast. But I have a specific reason for wanting to get this one to the table. Well, there's two reasons. There's one reason and there's one prompting for it. The reason I want to get it to the table is to satisfy one of my gaming white whales. And I'm sure we all have those games that are out there that we've just been talking about running or wanting to run for a long time. And for me, one of those is the Iron Gods Adventure Path, published by Paizo a few years back. This is a 6-module adventure series, just like their regular adventure paths for first edition Pathfinder. But this one is a little different because it is a science fantasy game inspired by Thundar the Barbarian and Thundercats and that kind of stuff, and set in their science fantasy world of swords, sorcery, and science, Numeria. And the adventure is not only is it, do I really love the setting, I actually like the adventures as well too. There's a very cool kind of rotating theme of dungeon crawl sandbox, and then another sandbox, and then a dungeon crawl in the series of the adventures. So I like that. I love the setting. I love the adventures themselves, and I've been wanting to run it for a number of years. And in fact, I even spent a ton of time converting a bunch of the material over to 5th edition D&D, which you can find on my gaming blog, on the Dungeon Musings blog. And like all things in, it's about 200 pages of material that was converted over, and it's 5th edition versions of the Gunslinger, the Magus, the Oracle, the Alchemist, and all the technological spells, all the monsters from the first module, just a ton of stuff, all the items from the first module and most of the second module as well. And with all that in mind, you know, you might ask, well, why the hell not run it with 5th edition D&D if you've done all that work? And the reason is because the first module, I've never run the module, so I really don't know how it actually plays at the table. And recent experience with Starfinder, the sci-fi game put up by Paizo as well too, has made me realize, and also listening, to be honest, to the Glass Cannon podcast and listening to those guys play Pathfinder, made me realize that as long as you're playing with people who are willing to learn the system and willing to know how the rules work for their characters, then the game can run just as fast as any other of the games that I typically run. So what I'm doing is I'm interested in running the game on alternating Saturdays. It'll be from 9 to noon on Central Time. I'm in Mountain Time, which means it's a little earlier for me, but that seems to work okay for European folks, and for European time zones, I should say, and anywhere in North America, that seems to be a manageable time. So I also find that doing that in the morning sets me up really well for the day. So it's a great way of kind of getting my day started too, just on a personal basis. 3 hours, I think, is a good length of time to not really impose too much on people's time, but give us enough time. 2-hour sessions, often we don't really get a chance to get enough done, or we can just kind of be in the heart of things. And yeah, otherwise, I've got some ideas as to what types of characters that I'd like to see restricted to. I want to try and keep the game a little more thematic. Pathfinder is a fucking massive, sprawling system, but to try and focus on some of the thematic elements of the setting, I'm going to put a list, a little more restricted of a list of what people can play. Not necessarily in terms of the classes, more so in terms of the races and the gods I want to see in the game, because I want everything to be focused on that setting. Otherwise, I mean, regular viewers of the channel know that I tend to run kind of a narrative game as well, but I also tend to let the dice fall where they may. So if you are a more experienced Pathfinder player and you're concerned that I may be running the game without all the rules, I'm mindful of the fact that Pathfinder, part of the fun of the player generation system is that the decisions you're making on that end will have meaningful consequence. So I'm intending to try and run the game as much as I can as written, but I mean, I also intend to make sure we're having fun with it. I don't intend this to be an adversarial thing. I know that the primary focus that I always have when I'm running a game is to make sure everyone's having a good time. So what I'm looking for is 4 or 5 players. I've heard from one person so far. I posted on the Paizo message boards. We've had a couple of people from the community who have joined some of the current ongoing campaigns, and everyone's super fucking cool. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to try again, posting something and seeing if any of the viewers want to join in the game, because we've been very fortunate to meet some really great players, and I think we're going to have some really good games this year, and I'm hoping to make this one of them as well. The only expectation I really have, you don't necessarily have to have any experience with Pathfinder before. If you've coming into this fresh, that's not to worry whatsoever. We're going to be using Roll20 for it, so I've already honestly got the entire first module's maps loaded in there anyway, so we're all good to go on that. And there's dynamic lighting set up and everything, so it should be a pretty fun. There's going to be lots of handouts and stuff like that in the game. And the character sheet for Pathfinder is pretty good on Roll20 as well, too. So we don't have to worry about a bad functioning or a less than functional character sheet. If you do have tons of experience with Pathfinder, all the better, because I don't have an awful lot of experience running it. So that will be good as well. And what else? What else? That's really it. I mean, the only expectation I guess I have is that people try and make, 75% of the sessions. If I totally understand that life gets in the way sometimes, but for this type of game, it's not as easy to have a drop in, drop out. There is an ongoing story with an adventure path, so it's best to have a core group that regularly keeps going. So if you are considering signing up for the session, I just ask that you try and make 3 out of 4 sessions. Otherwise, I guess if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about the session, you can leave a comment in the comment section below, or if you don't want to make it public, you can shoot me an email, or if you want to contact me on Twitter, of course, you can always contact me at Dungeon Musings on Twitter. Otherwise, that's kind of it. I mean, that is the pitch for the campaign. Starting date. This will be starting on February 9th. So the morning of February 9th would be my intention is to have that set aside to be the session 0, so we can create characters and whatnot. But what I found in my recent kickoff for my Starfinder game is that the players were on the fucking ball, and they were able to, they had their characters all ready to go. We had to do a little bit of like backstory for the characters, but otherwise we were good to go. So depending on where we stand in terms of characters loaded into the Roll20 and the state of character generation for it, we actually may be good to go as of February 9th, and that might be part of our first session. So I guess if you are interested as well too, I would suggest avoiding some of the spoilers on really even the Paizo download. It actually spoils one of the major elements that kicks off the campaign, and that's great if you're okay with players knowing that. But if you are interested and you don't know anything about Iron Gods, shoot me an email and I'll shoot you a redacted version that I set up for my for a previous effort at trying to run this. All it does is it just blacks out some stuff that would otherwise spoil what sets off the campaign. Yeah. Anyways, otherwise, I hope if it doesn't interest you, no problem at all. Too, it's totally fine. So I understand. If you know anybody who might be interested in playing as well, who is a Pathfinder player who's looking for a group, or someone who I don't know, who might be interested in participating in a streaming game, please don't hesitate to shoot them my way. I will be happy to talk to them about what to expect in it. And I guess if you're a regular viewer, you can warn them what to expect from me as a DM. So anyway, thanks for listening, folks. As always, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, shoot me a line, leave me a message, reach me on Twitter. Otherwise, I hope that the week is treating everybody well. And I hope to see some of you around the virtual gaming table sometime soon. Otherwise, thanks for watching and happy gaming.